All right, all right. So Jaire Alexander, now former Green Bay Packers corner, two-time All-Pro, has been released by the team after 7 seasons. Let's discuss all the things that led up to this move and also talk about some landing spots I think could be really fun for Jaire. But before we jump to all of it, hope y'all are having a fantabulous, awesome freaking day. My name is Garrett Shoemake, and this is the Shoemake Take. Hope y'all are doing well. When I received the news that Jaire Alexander was released by the Packers, I was at work, and when I looked at my phone and saw it, I was like, God, that sucks. And I get that there was writing on the wall, like it was going to happen probably, but to still see it happen was just unfortunate because Jaire Alexander, he was a 2018 first round pick for the team. Like I said in the intro, was here for, or not here, but he was in the team for 7 years. And when you see a long-term veteran like that get released, it's just unfortunate. It's always unfortunate because we've all grown to identify Jaire Alexander as a Green Bay Packer. I mean, he's been nothing but a Packer, and it gets to a point where you almost feel like he's always going to be a Packer. And so when stuff like that happens, it just sucks. And also, like, I'm not a fan of the Packers, but I've always enjoyed watching the Packers play. I've always been fans of their players. I've always been a fan of Jaire Alexander as well. I really liked him coming out of the 2018 draft, and he was a player that I kind of wanted my Tennessee Titans to draft at that time. I remember that. So seeing it finally, break apart, seeing that marriage break apart, it just sucks. It sucks for all parties. It's unfortunate. But like I said before, there was writing on the wall that this could be a possibility at the very least. More than likely, this was going to happen regardless. The first thing, after their wildcard loss to the Eagles, he made some disgruntled, non-committal comments about the team that kind of made people feel like, ooh, that's a little suspicious, that's a little worrisome. And then apparently throughout the process, they were trying to trade him, they were trying to figure stuff out. That didn't work. Draft came and gone. And by that point, they were trying to restructure his contract. It couldn't get done. And so they eventually released him. And it stinks because apparently he had full plans to attend mandatory minicamp and, be there with the coaches, be there with his teammates. And so to see this move drop and see him get cut kind of felt like a blindside move. But the big reason why he got cut was because of injuries. He's only played in 14 games in 2 years, and that's not great, of course. And he had a knee injury last year that knocked him out in the second half of the year. I think it was a torn PCL. And so seeing all that happen, it's unfortunate because the Packers too, they gave him a big contract. It was the 5th highest corner in the NFL, highest paid corner in the NFL. To see all this finally happen and break down, it's just unfortunate. It's just simply unfortunate. And again, kind of felt blindsided by it happening, was not prepared for it to happen. And this hurts the Packers. It does hurt the Packers. Maybe not as much as maybe people expect it to, but here's the deal. With Jaire Alexander over the last 2 seasons, Green Bay has been 10-4 with him on the field, and then without him on the field, they are 10-10. So they're losing more games without him on the field, and that makes sense because Jaire Alexander is one of the best corners in the NFL, and he's one of the few that you can consider like a true lockdown corner, where he is going to take your best receiver out of the game and make it that much harder for you to win football games. Not very many players, not very many corners in the NFL have that type of caliber. And so seeing him get released, there's a void left with him being gone. Now, the trio that they have now with Nate Hobbs, who they just signed in free agency from the Raiders, Keyshawn Nixon, who's been there for a little bit now, and then their 6th or 7th round pick, Carrington Valentine, is going to be interesting to watch. And the thing is, too, these aren't bad players. Nate Hobbs is a very solid slot corner. He was one of the better parts of that defense for the Raiders last year that really wasn't that great. And then Keyshawn Nixon, he's probably the worst of the 3 here. He's all right, but he also is a decent returner, so he adds value there. So he's serviceable at minimum. And then Carrington Valentine is a guy who was a solid number 2 outside of, next to Jaire Alexander on the outside. And Packers fans seem to really like him. The coaches seem to really like him. And after watching a little bit of some of his highlights and seeing what he can do, I like this guy. I think he could turn into something and be a solid player. So there's enough upside here to like it and be encouraged by him stepping up into a bigger role. I think he's probably cornerback 1 now. But replacing that lockdown all-pro production is gonna hurt. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna see the Packers secondary have a couple lapses in coverage here and there against some of the better teams. And when you're missing that lockdown corner, it's going to hurt. But is the secondary going to be bad? No, not at all. I think they're going to be a pretty okay unit at best. I think they should still be pretty good at that because the Packers, their defensive line is still pretty good. Their linebacker group I really like. So I don't think that losing Jaire Alexander is going to break their defense, but is it going to give them the ceiling that they need with having that all-pro lockdown corner? No, their ceiling is definitely lowered because of it. But again, this secondary is still going to be good. I mean, like I said, Nate Hobbs, Keyshawn Nixon, and Carrington Valentine are decent players at bare minimum. But at safety, you have Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney, who is also an all-pro. He was second in the league in interceptions last year. And also you add on second-year safety Javon Bullard, who I really like, had an up-and-down rookie year. But there's a lot to like in Javon Bullard. So again, production-wise, I think they're going to be okay. But that ceiling is going to be lower without having Jaire Alexander there. And at certain points against good football teams, it is going to come back to bite them. But for Jaire Alexander, what are some landing spots that make sense for him? One of them has been thrown around, which, by the way, these are not in any particular order, but the number one destination that people are pointing to for Jaire Alexander for the most part is the Miami Dolphins, and that's because they need corners big time. They're actively trying to trade Jalen Ramsey right now, and even with Jalen Ramsey, their cornerback room is the cupboard is very bare. You're talking about your cornerback 2 being Storm Duck. I know some people like Storm Duck. I don't know a lot about him, so I can't really speak on him, but I do understand that they do need corners really bad. And with them trying to trade Jalen Ramsey, and they also lost Javon Holland in free agency. They cut Kendall Fuller. So they need secondary help. Their secondary does not look great right now. And if the Dolphins are indeed going to trade Jalen Ramsey, well, you might almost need to pick up Jaire Alexander at that point, which would give them a huge boost, honestly, because Jaire Alexander is a little bit younger, not by much, but he is younger, even though he's coming off of an injury. Maybe he has got enough upside where you can bet on him. Is the Dolphins the best situation? No, but that is a situation that could be more than likely, if the Dolphins trade Jalen Ramsey at some point. One option, though, that does make sense that could be fun is the Baltimore Ravens. They could use another strong veteran presence in their secondary. Not that they have a lot of youth. They do, but it's not like a super necessary thing. But the Ravens, they do love to add veterans to their team. They signed DeAndre Hopkins this offseason as an example. They love to have a veteran presence on their team, and having Jaire Alexander with that veteran presence could be really helpful. They already have Marlon Humphrey at corner. They have a couple other corners too that I like. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. And of course, they have Kyle Hamilton at safety. I'm pretty sure they also drafted Nick Almanwari in the second round. Wait, no. Excuse me. That was wrong. No. The Eagles. No, not even. No, the Seahawks picked Nick Almanwari. The Ravens drafted Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia. That's who they picked. Jesus Christ, G, get it together. But the Ravens could be a fun option. Their defense is a good defense, and adding Jaire Alexander would make that secondary that much better, in my opinion, more than it already looks to be. But another one, like I just mentioned before, the Eagles, this is a team that actually could be in play. Number one, because Howie Roseman, he's a wizard. I've talked about that. I've said that phrase a bunch of times on this show. But they lost Darius Slay. He went to the Steelers, and they just traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Houston Texans. So they could add a veteran in that room when you have Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, who are going into their second year. Reed Blankenship is a relatively young player as well. They do have a veteran in the room, Adoree Jackson, but he's all right. He's not a great player, but he's a solid player. But Jaire Alexander gives you that number one lockdown all-pro ceiling that the Eagles really could use at that position with the loss of Darius Slay, more importantly, more specifically, and he could bring some juice. I don't know how they would use him because he's still coming back from injury. We'll have to see how much he would be used in that first year, but seeing Jaire Alexander in a Eagles uniform, oh my God. Like at that point, I already have them going back to the Super Bowl right now. At that point, lock it in. Just lock it in. Place your bets now. They're going back to the Super Bowl. They got a lockdown corner. Fantastic. But continuing on, another landing spot that I think would be really fun would be the Minnesota Vikings, because they just paid Byron Murphy. They paid him a big contract. They did lose Cam Bynum at safety to the Colts, but they do need more corners. The Byron Murphy is really good, but outside of that, Stephon Gilmore, he left. He's a free agent, and a couple other guys in that room, really, like, they're okay, but they really could use another outside corner that could give them juice. And having Jaire Alexander go to the Minnesota Vikings, a division rival, that could be really juicy. The Packers and Vikings rivalry already is intense as it is over the years, but man, oh man, could that really, really make that juicy if Jaire Alexander would go to the Minnesota Vikings. Wouldn't be the first time an all-star player, one of the best players on the Packers, left to go to the Vikings. Brett Favre, that was a terrible... I should have went like this first. I don't know why I tried to do that. It was terrible execution by me. I got to do better. But it would add another good corner on top of an already strong defense as it is. You're talking about one of the best defensive lines in football. Some good linebackers as well. Blake Cashman's pretty good. So adding Jaire Alexander to pair outside with... I'm so sorry. My mind just blanked. Byron Murphy is the name. Oh my God. I just said it not too long ago. What is going on with me right now? Anyways, it would be really fun to watch. I think the Vikings would be a really fun option. Now, those 4 teams are the most 4 likely landing spots that people are predicting, but I have a few here that are kind of wild cards, but could be a lot of fun. Like, really, they really intrigue me. Number 1, this was one I really haven't seen, but hear me out for a second. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their secondary last year was an issue, and also, they're not shy. This team has been open with their actions, with how they built their team. They're not shy about stacking talent at important positions. You look at their edge rusher group, they have a bunch of edge rushers that could rotate in there and play well for them. And then wide receiver, you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They drafted Emeka Egbuka in the first round of this year's draft out of Ohio State, probably going to be their starting slot receiver. You also have Jalen McMillan, who was really productive at the end of the year. You still have Trey Palmer, who is apparently rumored that he could be cut, but he is still talented. He has had production. They have Sterling Shepard, who's been a really good backup receiver for them, former starter for the Giants for a long time, so he has value there. And also has that veteran presence in the locker room at that position, along with Mike Evans as well. So, I mean, they're not shy about adding a lot of talent at important positions. And I mean, in the Bucs secondary, I mean, they have Jamel Dean, Zion McCollum at corner. There's another guy in there, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, Antoine Winfield Jr. at safety. And so, I mean, they have talent at that spot, but adding Jaire Alexander would really, really help them out, especially with a defense that didn't get a lot of turnovers last year in the secondary. Now, Jaire Alexander isn't a super turnover-causing guy, but that's fine because he's a lockdown corner. He's a guy that you don't want to try and throw to. He takes your wide receiver 1 out of games. He's not a guy that's going to try and get a quarterback to bait a throw. No, he's just going to lock your receiver down and take him away the game and eliminate that half of the field. So, in that regard, it's not going to help them get more turnovers. But you know what's going to do? He's going to lock down opposing wide receiver 1s. And you know what that's going to do? Slow down the offense. Allow this pass rush that Todd Bowles' defense is known for, getting after the quarterback and creating pressure, is going to allow that pressure just that little bit of a fraction of a second longer, or buy them that much, a little bit more time to get into the quarterback's face. Maybe bat a pass down, force a bad decision. That's what a lockdown corner does for you. And I think that adding Jaire Alexander there would really help this front 7, really help their pass rush, get that little bit of extra juice, and just get that much closer to the quarterback to force more bad decision. And maybe some other players in the Bucs secondary can create some turnovers. Another good one is the Seattle Seahawks. Number 1, the Seattle Seahawks defense is mostly young, so adding a strong veteran presence would help them. But also, this is a defense that is really well coached. They were inconsistent to start the year, but as the year went along, you could really see their growth and their development as a unit under new head coach Mike Macdonald. And so seeing Jaire Alexander in that unit, that sounds really fun to watch. They already have Devon Witherspoon and then Tariq Woolen, so I don't know if they would make that move. But then again, I mean, Tariq Woolen's been a little bit more up and down, so maybe they bring in Jaire Alexander? I'm not sure. But, I mean, they also drafted Nick Amanwari at safety. There you go. That's the correction. So there's a lot there to like, and I think the fit would be really fun. It would be a lot of fun. Similar to what, the Ravens. Why it would be fun for the Ravens? Because, I mean, of course, Mike McDonald was the defensive coordinator there last year. I mean, their schemes are similar. So I think Jaire Alexander would be a great fit in Seattle for multiple reasons, along with adding that veteran presence that they could use in that unit to make that defense that much better. Another one that could be interesting is the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams really didn't change their cornerback room. I know they lost Tre'Davious White, but he really wasn't making that big of an impact. He went back to the Buffalo Bills. But again, adding Jaire Alexander, kind of like a similar situation for the Bucs. It would add a lockdown corner that would be really productive and would help that defensive line get that much more pressure on the quarterback. And I've said it before multiple times that I expect this defensive line for the Rams to be really, really, really good this year. I like their defensive coordinator. I think he's done some really good things so far with the Rams. I think that entire unit is going to take a step forward. And if you add Jaire Alexander, I think that makes those chances a lot more likely. And the last one I think would be really fun would be the Bills, the Buffalo Bills, because they already have a solid corner room. They have Taron Johnson, Christian Benford. I think they just paid Christian Benford too and extended him. And they also drafted Maxwell Harrison, the corner out of Kentucky, with their first round pick, who runs a 4.2 40. The guy that's going to be specifically designed to slow down Xavier Worthy. But they do need a true lockdown corner. They don't have that with any of those 2-3 guys. And for a team that's really trying to get to the Super Bowl, they're so close to getting over the hump, but they just have not been able to do it. Adding Jaire Alexander could give them that little cherry on top that they've been looking for, kind of like what the Eagles got with Saquon Barkley. Now, is it going to be, if that was to be the case, would it be the same production-wise? Probably not, because, Saquon Barkley's healthy. Jaire Alexander is still coming off of an injury, a torn PCL, so that is important to note. But at the same time, if he could come back and be healthy and play well for any of these teams, but going back to the Bills, oh man, that would help them out so much. This defense did lose some pieces, and they're going through a little bit of change, so it's gonna be a little interesting to see what they do defensively. I think they should still be a solid unit at minimum. I think they're gonna be a good unit. I think it'll be a good defense. We're talking maybe 12 to 15, maybe 11. So adding Jaire Alexander, like I said, if he hits, if he comes back healthy and he plays the whole 17 games, 18 games, 17 games, he could be the cherry on top that the Bills have needed to go to the Super Bowl. They've tried doing everything to get there. They've tried adding, Dalton Kincaid, the Travis Kelce for their team. They've tried adding, they're adding Maxwell Harrison to try and stop Xavier Worthy. They're doing everything they can to try and build to beat the Chiefs, and it's not working. Adding Jaire Alexander and adding that lockdown corner could be what they need. And like I said, it could be really fun. It could be really exciting. All of these options here would be really fun to watch, and I think he could elevate all of these defenses. He would elevate any defense. He's one of the best corners in the NFL for a reason. But these teams in particular, not only do some of these teams really need a corner, but oh man, he really elevates their unit a lot if he comes back healthy, which is really fun. And when he actually goes and when he eventually signs with the team, it's going to be really fun to see, talk about it. And I'm going to be interested and keep my eyes peeled for when that actually happens. But for now, that is going to do it for me today, guys. If you guys have made it this far, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button. Help a guy out. We're trying to reach 100 subscribers before the 2025 season starts. And right now, you guys are doing an absolutely fantastic job. It looks like we're going to clear that number before the season starts. So here's to hoping we can, and I think we will. So hit those 2 buttons and help a guy out. If it's free, it's for me. You know what I'm saying? Along with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys think of Jaire Alexander getting cut? Where do you think he's going to go? Do you think the Packers made a mistake cutting him? Let me know all your thoughts there. And lastly, make sure you share this video on social media and also follow me on social media, whether it's TikTok, Twitter X, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Make sure to go follow me there. I post clips every single week from the show to go check them out. Give them a like. Follow me there as well. But that is going to do it for me today, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed. And as always, I will see you all next time.